Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the 1986 Major League Baseball replay through the Strat-O-Matic baseball board game. We are starting our fourth week of the season. I'm going to do something different with this video. This week's actually going to be broken down into two videos because this week ends the month of April and begins the month of May. So this video is just going to review the first half of week 4 from April 28th through April 30th. And then I'm able to go through some standings, some power rankings, and possibly I think we get some players of the month. So let's get it kicked off and let's start week 4. And I named it 4.1. And let's continue. So, to begin from last week, the current AL division leaders before we start this week. In the East is the New York Yankees at 12-7. The Kansas City Royals out of the Central at 10-8. The West, Texas Rangers at 12-6. The National League division leaders. The East, the New York Mets at 13-4. The Central, Cincinnati Reds at 7-9. And the West, the Los Angeles Dodgers at 14-6. So these are the division leaders heading into this week. And since this is a split week, let's see if these guys can stay in the lead until at least the end of April. So let's start it off on Monday, April 28th. The Pittsburgh Pirates at the Los Angeles Dodgers, and LA dumps Pittsburgh 4-0. Chicago Cubs at the San Diego Padres. San Diego beats up on the slumping Cubs 6-1. And then the final game of the day is St. Louis Cardinals at the San Francisco Giants. And the Cardinals win second time in over a week, 5-2. It was a quiet Monday. Now, Tuesday, April 29th. The New York Mets at the Atlanta Braves. Atlanta catcher Ted Simmons' grand slam in the 9th ties the game. Then he walks it off with a home run in the 11th over the Mets. 9-7-11. And a little special note, Claudell Washington returns for the second time in so many days, and he bats and doesn't get hurt. So Claudell Washington has returned without injury. Seattle Mariners at the Boston Red Sox. Boston bats smashed the M's pitching in a 17-6 rout. Baltimore Orioles at the Chicago White Sox. El Presidente, Dennis Martinez for the Baltimore Orioles, wins 3-1. Montreal Expos at the Cincinnati Reds. Montreal inches closer to the Mets with the win, 4-1. Kansas City Royals at Detroit Tigers. Kansas City closer Dan Quisenberry blows the lead. Then the game to the Tigers, 9-8. Pittsburgh Pirates at the Los Angeles Dodgers. LA adds another win to their record, 5-4. Oakland A's at the Milwaukee Brewers. Oakland A's starting pitcher Moose Haas shuts out his former Milwaukee team 6-0. Minnesota Twins at the New York Yankees. Minnesota rookie starting pitcher Mark Portugal blanks out the Yanks in the Bronx 5-0. Houston Astros at the Philadelphia Phillies. Astros beat the Phillies, but Houston's first baseman Glenn Davis goes on the DL for the second time for another 5 games. He's expected to return next week around the 7th when they play the Mets. Chicago Cubs at the San Diego Padres. The Cubs limp to a win 4-3. St. Louis Cardinals at the San Francisco Giants. San Francisco sends St. Louis to their 7th loss in the past 9 games, 4-3. Cleveland Indians at the Texas Rangers. The Rangers win the battle of the best AL offenses, 8-3. California Angels at the Toronto Blue Jays. Toronto escapes extras with the win in the 11th, 5-4. Wednesday the 30th. New York Mets at the Atlanta Braves. The New York Mets overcome their walk-off beat from the previous night, 6-3. Seattle Mariners at the Boston Red Sox. The M's avenge worst loss with the best win of the season, 17-2. Baltimore Orioles at the Chicago White Sox. White Sox starting pitcher Joe Cowley is very impressive in the 4-1 win. Montreal Expos at the Cincinnati Reds. Cincinnati blows the lead, but wins in extras 4-3. Kansas City Royals at the Detroit Tigers. Kansas City comes back to tie, then wins in extras 9-7. Chicago Cubs at the Los Angeles Dodgers. Chicago Cubs starting pitcher Steve Trout slows down LA for the W, 4-3. Oakland A's at the Milwaukee Brewers. Rookie starting pitcher for the Milwaukee Brewers, Juan Nieves, K's 9 in their 5-4 victory. Minnesota Twins at the New York Yankees. Outfielder for the Yankees, Dave Winfield, returns, and he helps the Yankees in extras win 6-5. Houston Astros at the Philadelphia Phillies. Philadelphia's starting pitcher Charles Hudson wins in another strong start, 5-3. St. Louis Cardinals at the San Diego Padres. St. Louis outfielder Vince Coleman steals 4 bases but loses game, and outfielder Willie McGee for 5 games. He's expected to return next week around the 8th versus the Padres. Padres win 5-2. Pittsburgh Pirates at San Francisco Giants. Pittsburgh starting pitcher Jose De Leon is turning heads in San Francisco with the W, 6-2. Cleveland Indians at the Texas Rangers. The Indians' bats are alive in the W, 8-3. And California at the Toronto Blue Jays. Rookie first baseman for the Angels, Wally Joyner, blasts Toronto single-handedly with 2 home runs, 11-3. So that is the final game of the month. And at this time, I finally got everything caught up, and I do have the standings for the American League as of April 30th. So I'm going to pop these up here now. And we're just going to go through a couple of them here. I'm not going to read every single thing on here. I will go nice and slow. So if you want to follow the team that you want to do well, or just have an idea to read through it, I will kind of go through it slowly. And you could also pause this if you want to as well. So let's start it up here. We got in the American League East, we have the New York Yankees at 13-8. And they are 2.5 games up on the Boston Red Sox and the Baltimore Orioles, who are both 10-10. The Cleveland Indians are 9-12, and they're 4 games behind. And the Toronto Blue Jays are 8-12 and 4.5 games behind the Yankees in the Eastern Division. We could have a couple quick things here that I could point out for here in the East. Yankees are doing fantastic, playing outdoors so far. They haven't yet to play inside yet. They're pretty good against right-handed pitching as well, too. Looks like the Blue Jays 4-10 on turf. That's basically their home games. Not doing too well there. Cleveland has 111 runs scored, which is good. Too bad their pitching's given up 120. So they're down 9 runs to begin with. So that is the East in a nutshell. So let's reach on to the Central Division. So we got the Kansas City Royals are 11-9. And they're in first place by a half a game, up from Chicago White Sox, who are 10-9. And the Minnesota Twins, who are 11-10. Both of these teams are a half game behind the Royals. The Milwaukee Brewers are 8-11 and 2.5 games behind. And the Detroit Tigers are 8-12 and 3 games behind. Central's kind of wishy-washy a little bit. The Kansas City Royals have 91 runs, but they've only given up 72, so they're up in the plus column by 19. Tigers have the most runs scored in the Central as a team, but too bad they gave up 106 runs. Kansas City has pretty much been doing okay against the Eastern teams so far, as the Twins are doing okay against the Western teams. And the Royals do pretty good against right-handed pitching, too, 9-5. And then for our Western Division, we have the Texas Rangers at 13-7. They're up a game and a half of the Oakland Athletics and the California Angels, who are both 12-9. And then the Seattle Mariners are 7-14. They're 6.5 games behind. The Mariners can't really do anything at home, of being 2-7. The Rangers can't really do too much at home either, almost 500, but they're 8-1 on the road. The Rangers scored 111 runs. They've given up 94 with a 17 plus advantage compared to the Athletics that are only got 101 runs. They've only given up 69 runs and 32 runs up on the teams that they're playing. So the Rangers doing pretty good outside. They haven't played inside yet, 13-7. And the Mariners, hopefully they get a little hot, kind of lagging in the whole league with the worst record, while the Yankees, the Texas Rangers have the best record, at least by winning percentage. So that is the American League. So now let's go bump to the American League Power Rankings as of April 30th. And this is them in a nutshell. So we got the Texas Rangers are the number 1 team based off of their record. And then the Yankees are just a half game behind them. And you can go through and see the teams here, how they're doing against each other as a league as a whole. Looks like Rangers, Yankees, A's, the Angels, the Royals. It's within a series all the way down to the Red Sox, 3 games behind. So they're all pretty close so far. So now, since we spent so much time on the American League, so let's switch it over to the National League. So the National League standings as of April 30th. We got in the Eastern Division, we got the New York Mets at 14-5. Oh, and they're 2.5 games up on the Montreal Expos, who are 11-7. Pittsburgh Pirates are 11-9 and 3.5 behind. And the Phillies just can't get it done so far. That's 7-12 and 7 games behind the Mets. The Phillies can't seem to win at home, and the Mets are on fire on the road. And take a look at that differential there with the Mets. Their pitching staff is quite good. They've only given up 52 runs while scoring 95. That's going to win you some games. So let's go on down to the Central, where we got the Cincinnati Reds. They're in first place with an 8-10 record. They're up by 1 game over the Chicago Cubs, who are 8-12. The Atlanta Braves are 6-13 and 2.5 games back. And the St. Louis Cardinals are 6-15 and 3.5 games back. Looks like really no one wants to win the Central. So hopefully they could kind of turn it around a bit. Every single team there, as you can see, they're in the negative. They don't get too many runs, and they give up a lot of runs. With the Braves only getting 68 runs they've scored and giving up 95. So, and the Braves can't do too good against the West. And if you've been following along in the videos, the LA Dodgers have kind of just beaten them up. I think the Dodgers are 7-0 against them, I think. So they can't seem to win in the West. And the Cardinals can't seem to win in the East. So that's our Central. So now we'll go down to our Western Division, where we got the Los Angeles Dodgers are 16-7, and they're up by 2.5 games over the Houston Astros, who are 12-8, and the San Diego Padres, who are 13-9. Both of them are 2.5 games behind the Dodgers, and the San Francisco Giants are 8-13 and 7 games behind. The Dodgers do pretty good at home. They're 10-4 overall. They have a pretty decent pitching staff as well. They've given up only 87 runs. So aren't the Astros. They've given up 69. But the Astros don't score as much as the Dodgers. Dodgers got 115 runs. And then looking overall, the Dodgers are undefeated against the Central, or against the Braves, I should say, 7-0. And let's see, anything else interesting popping out here? They're 16-7 on the grass, mainly because they're home and they haven't played inside yet. And they're 12-6 against the right-handed pitching. So there's a look at your National League. You can follow your team. And we're going to head on to the power rankings. And as you can see here, the Mets are the number 1 team by a half a game over the Dodgers with a 765 winning percentage compared to the Dodgers' 700 winning percentage. And the Cardinals are 5-13. So your National League champions from last year are not doing too good so far through the first month. So maybe they could kind of turn it around a bit, get themselves back into the hunt. So there's our power rankings overall. See them pretty good. Top 6 teams are within 3 games. All right. So I really don't have, again, too many statistics, mainly because, again, they were updating as I was playing the game. So, again, I was able to get some information and put it all together. So what I did is I was able to put the April players of the month. So in the American League, the player of the month is outfielder or center fielder Gary Pettis from the California Angels. He batted .437 for the month with 3 home runs and 8 RBIs. He's their leadoff man and has 20 stolen bases. He had put together a pretty good month. He's always on, and considering he's currently on the injured 5 games, he might have even had even more impressive numbers if he played the last 3 games of April. As for the rookie of the month is Angels first baseman Wally Joyner with a .325 average, 5 home runs, 17 RBIs, 27 hits. He's got hot within the last week or so. He was hitting mid 200, 250, and as of late he's been striking it up pretty good. So he rose his average to .325 in the month. The pitcher of the month goes to, surprisingly, the Cleveland Indians starting pitcher Tom Candiotti, who in his 5 starts is 5-0 with a .248 ERA. He has only 25 strikeouts. He got 2 complete games under his belt, and he has a shutout as well. So hopefully he could continue. Seems to be a pretty good bright spot on that horrible Cleveland pitching staff. The reliever of the month, it was kind of close, but after everything is said and done, it was closer for the Chicago White Sox, Bob James, who was 7 for 7 in save opportunities in the month, and he had .257 ERA, and pretty good numbers there. Doesn't strike out many, but gets the guys out when it counts. So he goes 7 for 7 for the month for the White Sox. So there is your American League Players of the Month for April. So now let's go do the National League. National League Players of the Month. So Player of the Month is second baseman for the Los Angeles Dodgers, Steve Sax. You look at that average there, .372 batting average, 1 home run, 10 RBIs. He's also their leadoff man, 24 stolen bases. So the guy gets on and he takes the bases. So he's putting his team in scoring position pretty constantly. So he had a very good month. Steve Sax for the Dodgers. The rookie of the month is San Diego outfielder and left fielder John Kruk. Look at that batting average. He's only played 12 games. He's batting .438, 3 home runs, 14 RBIs. He's spreading his time between that Padres outfield. He started 3 games into the year. So he's putting together a pretty good solid month of April and helping out the middle of that Padres lineup. As for the pitcher of the month, we got Houston starting pitcher Mike Scott, who in his 4 starts is 4-0 with a .25 ERA. So he's pitched 36 innings. He's given up 1 earned run, 18 hits, and 46 strikeouts. He has, all of his games he started was a complete game and 3 shutouts. I believe his shutout innings, I think he's currently a streak at 19 in a row. So, and then the reliever of the month is Cincinnati Reds closer John Franco, who was 5 for 5 out of the month. Didn't give up any runs at all. He's only given up 2 hits. He doesn't strike out much, but gets them out when it counts. So there are your National League Players of the Month. So let's see what these guys can carry over into May. So we'll keep an eye on Gary Pettis and Steve Sax. Let's see if rookies Wally Joyner and John Kruk could keep it up. And let's see if Tom Candiotti and Mike Scott can continue their winning ways. And let's see if Bob James and John Franco could keep on saving them for their teams. So this is the end of this first half of this week, which is April 28th through to April 30th. And that there is your go through the standings to see how your team is doing. Go through some of these players here. Our next part is going to be the second half of this week, which is May 1st to the 4th. So I hope you guys enjoyed this one a little bit more, because I actually have some actual statistics that you can see, even though it's only player-based, but we have some standings to give you an idea of where we're at about 4.5 weeks in, or 3.5 weeks in. So, and I'm glad you came and watched, and I hope you've been enjoying this up to this part. And have a good evening, everybody. And as always, play ball.